They laugh too early. They celebrate too soon. They announce dreams that have not survived the fire yet. And then they wonder why their ambition slowly dies in silence before it ever becomes reality. There is a dangerous habit in this world that destroys more futures than failure ever could. A habit so subtle, so socially accepted, that millions of people confuse it for confidence. They speak about what they are going to do before they have done the work required to become the person capable of doing it. They expose their vision to the noise of doubters before their roots are deep enough to survive the storm. They seek applause before achievement, validation before victory. And that is why most people remain trapped in the same life year after year, talking endlessly about mountains they never climb. Because dreams are fragile in the beginning. A seed does not become a tree the moment it touches the soil. It disappears first, buried, hidden, unseen, in darkness. And while the world sees nothing happening, beneath the ground a silent transformation begins. Roots stretch deeper before branches ever reach higher. Nature itself understands a law most humans ignore. What grows in silence becomes unstoppable. Your ambition is the same way. The greatest visions are not announced, they are protected. Napoleon Hill spent more than 20 years studying the most successful people of his era. Men like Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison. Giants who built industries while the world doubted them. And one pattern kept appearing again and again. These men did not waste energy convincing others of their destiny. They directed every ounce of energy toward becoming it. Because the moment you tell weak minds about a powerful vision, they will attempt to reduce it to the size of their own limitations. Not because they hate you, because your ambition exposes their fear. The average person cannot understand obsession. They call it unrealistic because they abandoned their own dreams long ago. They cannot understand discipline because comfort became their addiction. They cannot understand faith because they only believe in what their eyes already see. But every extraordinary life begins with believing in something invisible. Before Walt Disney built an empire, he was rejected by newspapers for lacking imagination. Before Ford transformed transportation, people mocked the idea of replacing horses with machines. Before Abraham Lincoln became president, he endured repeated failures. Business collapse, defeat after defeat, humiliation after humiliation. Yet none of those men stopped because of public opinion. They understood something the world still struggles to learn. Noise is the enemy of vision. When you constantly speak about your plans, your brain receives a false sense of accomplishment. You begin emotionally rewarding yourself for intentions instead of results. The mind starts confusing talking with doing. And slowly, dangerously, momentum dies before execution even begins. That is why silence is power. Silence is not weakness. Silence is concentration. Silence is strategy. Silence is preparation. The lion does not announce its attack before it moves. The ocean does not scream about its depth. The sun does not make speeches before it rises every morning. Power moves differently. And if you truly want to transform your life, you must learn how to move in silence while your spirit grows louder inside. There will be moments when nobody believes in you. Moments when your progress feels invisible. Moments when it seems like the universe itself is testing your commitment. That is where most people quit. They crave external proof before internal mastery. But the rare few, the ones history remembers, they continue working in darkness long before recognition arrives. Because they understand a truth that changes everything. You do not need everyone to understand your vision. You only need enough belief to keep moving. The world worships finished products but ignores the process required to create them. People admire confidence without witnessing the years of uncertainty that forged it. They envy success while refusing to endure the loneliness necessary to build it. And loneliness will visit you, not because you are cursed, because transformation separates you from who you used to be. There comes a season in every ambitious life where you begin outgrowing environments that once felt comfortable. Conversations that once entertained you begin feeling empty. People who once inspired you begin draining your energy. You start realizing that average thinking is contagious. Negativity spreads through proximity. Small-mindedness infects ambition if you stay exposed to it long enough. So you become quieter, not out of arrogance, out of necessity, because you finally understand that every dream requires protection during its early stages, A blacksmith does not remove steel from the fire too soon. A sculptor does not abandon marble halfway through carving. Masterpieces require isolation before presentation, pressure before praise, discipline before recognition, and most people never reach greatness because they cannot endure the period where nothing external validates their effort. That period is where character is born. Anybody can stay motivated when applause surrounds them. Anybody can feel powerful when results are immediate. But can you continue when there is no evidence yet? Can you keep building when nobody claps? Can you stay loyal to a vision the world cannot see? That is the real test. Faith is not believing after success arrives. Faith is continuing before it arrives. Every empire once existed only in someone's imagination. Every invention was once considered impossible. Every revolutionary idea first sounded insane. Understand this deeply. The future does not belong to those who seek approval. It belongs to those who can hold conviction long enough for reality. To catch up with belief, most people leak their energy through constant explanation. They announce goals, defend dreams, argue about plans, seek opinions from people who have never built anything meaningful themselves. And while they are busy talking, time keeps moving. The disciplined individual moves differently. They wake early while others sleep. They study while others scroll endlessly through distractions. They sharpen skills in silence while the world wastes hours, broadcasting empty intentions. They understand that greatness is earned privately before it is displayed publicly. There is something sacred about unseen labor. The athlete training before dawn, the entrepreneur working after midnight, the writer bleeding thoughts onto paper while the world sleeps, the dreamer refusing to surrender despite having no guarantee of success. That invisible effort changes a human being from the inside out. Because repetition builds identity, every disciplined action sends a message to your subconscious. I am becoming someone greater. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens self-respect. Every difficult moment you survive increases inner authority. And eventually, your confidence no longer depends on motivational speeches, compliments, or temporary emotions. It becomes rooted in evidence. You begin trusting yourself because you know how much pain you endured silently. You know how many sacrifices were made behind closed doors. You know how many nights you kept going despite exhaustion, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That kind of confidence cannot be faked. And once you possess it, your presence changes. People will sense something different about you even before success visibly appears. Because true ambition carries energy. Focus alters the eyes. Discipline changes posture. Purpose transforms the way a person walks into a room. You stop needing attention because your mission becomes bigger than your ego. That is another reason silence becomes natural during transformation. Ego seeks recognition. Purpose seeks completion. And there is a difference between those two forces. The ego wants people to witness the journey. Purpose only cares about reaching the destination. The ego wants validation today. Purpose is willing to suffer for years if necessary. The ego quits when nobody notices. Purpose continues because the vision burns too deeply to abandon. Ask yourself honestly, are you building a life or performing one? Because in this generation, many people are addicted to appearing successful rather than becoming successful. They document every step before they have even learned how to walk. They post motivation they have not lived. They advertise lifestyles built on illusion. And eventually reality collects its debt. But substance always outlasts performance. A mansion built on weak foundations eventually collapses. A reputation built without character eventually breaks. A dream built only for attention eventually loses meaning. You must become stronger than the temptation to announce everything. Protect your next move. Move quietly while your discipline compounds. Let people misunderstand you if necessary. Let them underestimate you. Let them think nothing is happening, while you build yourself brick by brick in silence. Because one day the results will speak with a volume explanations never could. And when that day comes, you will realize something extraordinary. The struggle was never only about money, success, status, or achievement. It was about transformation. The real victory is not the car, not the house, not the applause. The real victory is becoming someone capable of creating those things through discipline, clarity, faith, and relentless action. That person can never return to mediocrity again. There is a hidden war happening inside every human being. A war between comfort and greatness, between distraction and purpose, between fear and destiny. And every day your habits cast votes toward the person you are becoming. Most people lose this war quietly, not in dramatic moments, in small decisions repeated daily, sleeping instead of preparing, complaining instead of adapting, talking instead of executing, doubting instead of believing. Life changes when you understand that success is not an event. It is an identity built through repeated behavior. And identities are forged in private long before they become visible in public. That is why secrecy matters. Not because you are hiding from others, because you are protecting momentum from interruption. The world has too many opinions, too many projections, too much noise. If you allow every voice access to your vision, eventually confusion will replace clarity. Fear will replace courage. Hesitation will replace action. You must learn to guard your mind like a fortress. Napoleon Hill called it definiteness of purpose. A burning obsession directed toward a clear destination. Not casual interest, not temporary motivation. Obsession, the kind of vision. Because emotions are unreliable. When emotions disappear, there will be mornings you feel nothing. No excitement, no inspiration, no certainty, only resistance, only fatigue, only doubt whispering that maybe your dream is too far away. Those mornings matter most because character is revealed when emotion disappears. Anybody can chase a goal when they feel inspired. The uncommon individual continues even when the mind rebels against discomfort. They understand that greatness is often boring before it becomes legendary. Repetition, sacrifice, delayed gratification, consistency without immediate reward. The world sees the victory, speech, but never the years of invisible preparation behind it. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Edison failed thousands of times before creating the light bulb. Colonel Sanders faced rejection repeatedly before building Kentucky Fried Chicken in his 60s. Imagine if those men had surrendered their vision to public opinion during the early stages. History would look different, and so would your life if you stop allowing temporary doubt to dictate permanent decisions. You are capable of more than you currently demonstrate, but capability means nothing without commitment. Potential unused becomes regret, and regret is one of the heaviest burdens a human being can carry. Years from now, you will either thank yourself for enduring the difficult path or suffer knowing you abandoned the person you could have become. There is no escaping that truth. Time moves whether you act or not. The seasons change. The clock advances. Your life is being shaped right now by what you repeatedly tolerate, believe, and pursue. And if you continue waiting for perfect conditions, you will wake up one day, shocked by how much time disappeared. While you were hesitating, the perfect moment does not exist. Start afraid. Start uncertain. Start tired if necessary. But start, because action creates clarity. Most fear dissolves once movement begins. Confidence grows through evidence, not wishful thinking. And evidence is created through disciplined repetition over time. Do not announce your future. Build it. Let your habits speak before your mouth does. Let your discipline introduce you before your words ever need to. Let people witness the results instead of hearing endless promises about them. There is something powerful that happens when you stop seeking external approval. Your energy returns to you. Your focus sharpens. Your emotional dependence weakens. You become dangerous in the best possible way, because now your actions are no longer controlled by applause or criticism. Freedom begins there. The moment you no longer need permission to pursue greatness. Many people secretly wait for someone to validate their ambition before fully committing. A friend, a parent, society, proof, but the highest performers in history learned how to generate belief internally before reality confirmed anything externally. That is self-leadership. And self-leadership requires solitude at times. Not everyone can accompany you into the next version of your life. Some relationships were only designed for the previous version of you. Some people benefit from your stagnation because your growth reminds them of their own inaction. And if you are not careful, they will subtly encourage you to remain small so they can remain comfortable. Protect your environment, protect your attention, protect your mind. Because whatever repeatedly surrounds you eventually shapes you. If you spend enough time around mediocrity, excuses begin sounding reasonable. Average becomes acceptable. Comfort becomes dangerous. But when you immerse yourself in discipline, vision, knowledge, and purpose, something inside you awakens. You begin expecting more from yourself. An expectation changes behavior. The greatest prison is not poverty. It is low self-belief. A person convinced they are powerless will sabotage opportunities, abandon goals, and settle for lives far beneath their potential. But the moment belief shifts, behavior follows. Vision expands, action intensifies. That is why the mind must be trained daily. Feed it strength, feed it clarity, feed it purpose. Because if you do not consciously direct your thoughts, the world will do it for you. Fear-based news, negative conversations, social comparison, endless distraction. Modern society profits from unfocused minds. A focused mind becomes difficult to control, and that is exactly why focus is rare. Most people wake up reactive instead of intentional. They allow notifications, opinions, trends, and circumstances to dictate their emotional state. They drift through life without a definite aim. But drifting never creates greatness. A ship without direction eventually crashes somewhere meaningless. You need a vision so clear that distraction becomes unattractive. You need goals that force you to evolve. You need standards that eliminate excuses. And above all, you need the discipline to continue when nobody is watching. Because eventually, the hidden years reveal themselves publicly. The silent worker shocks everyone overnight, even though the transformation took years. The disciplined individual appears lucky because people only see the outcome, never the sacrifice beneath it. They see the harvest, but not the seasons of planting, watering, waiting, and surviving storms. But you will know. You will remember every silent battle, every lonely night, every painful setback, every moment you nearly quit but decided to continue anyway. And that memory will become your power. Many people secretly wait for someone to validate their ambition before fully committing. A friend, a parent, society, proof, but the highest performers in history learned how to generate belief internally before reality confirmed anything externally. That is self-leadership. And self-leadership requires solitude at times. Not everyone can accompany you into the next version of your life. Some relationships were only designed for the previous version of you. Some people benefit from your stagnation because your growth reminds them of their own inaction. And if you are not careful, they will subtly encourage you to remain small so they can remain comfortable. Protect your environment, protect your attention, protect your mind. Because whatever repeatedly surrounds you eventually shapes you. If you spend enough time around mediocrity, excuses begin sounding reasonable. Average becomes acceptable. Comfort becomes dangerous. But when you immerse yourself in discipline, vision, knowledge, and purpose, something inside you awakens. You begin expecting more from yourself. An expectation changes behavior. The greatest prison is not poverty. It is low self-belief. A person convinced they are powerless will sabotage opportunities, abandon goals, and settle for lives far beneath their potential. But the moment belief shifts, behavior follows. Vision expands, action intensifies. That is why the mind must be trained daily. Feed it strength, feed it clarity, feed it purpose. Because if you do not consciously direct your thoughts, the world will do it for you. Fear-based news, negative conversations, social comparison, endless distraction. Modern society profits from unfocused minds. A focused mind becomes difficult to control, and that is exactly why focus is rare. Most people wake up reactive instead of intentional. They allow notifications, opinions, trends, and circumstances to dictate their emotional state. They drift through life without a definite aim. But drifting never creates greatness. A ship without direction eventually crashes somewhere meaningless. You need a vision so clear that distraction becomes unattractive. You need goals that force you to evolve. You need standards that eliminate excuses. And above all, you need the discipline to continue when nobody is watching. Because eventually, the hidden years reveal themselves publicly. The silent worker shocks everyone overnight, even though the transformation took years. The disciplined individual appears lucky because people only see the outcome, never the sacrifice beneath it. They see the harvest, but not the seasons of planting, watering, waiting, and surviving storms. But you will know. You will remember every silent battle, every lonely night, every painful setback, every moment you nearly quit but decided to continue anyway. And that memory will become your power.